Hello, all you test takers out there. This is Amanda with Test Innovators. Today, let's take a look at a boundaries question. These types of questions can test your knowledge of punctuation at the end of a sentence or within the sentence. When I say punctuation, I am specifically referring to periods, commas, semicolons, colons, and on rare occasions, dashes, as these are the punctuation marks you're likely to see on the digital SAT. Many students may feel nervous about tackling a grammar or punctuation question because it may feel like there are so many rules to memorize. The good news is, once you know the conventions the digital SAT tests for, then approaching these kinds of questions becomes fairly straightforward. Furthermore, unlike some types of questions that require you to read between the lines, grammar questions tend to be more direct. And as an added bonus, grammar and punctuation questions tend to be quite short, so you can spend more time on the text-heavy questions. So let's dive into a boundaries question that we have here. Uganda has earned its reputation as a prominent global hub for coffee production due to its lush and fertile terrains. The country boasts an impressive annual coffee yield of approximately 6.85 million blank, its position as one of the leading coffee producing nations worldwide. And here's the question. Which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? Okay, so whenever you see this wording, which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English, you know right off the bat that you have either a boundaries or form, structure, and sense question. Either way, you know you will be tested on some aspect of grammar or punctuation. Next, if we skim through these answer choices, we'll notice that the wording is generally the same and various punctuation marks are used. In choice A, we see there is actually no punctuation. In choice B, we see that there is a comma. In choice C, we see there is a semicolon. And then in choice D, we see there is a comma plus the coordinating conjunction and. So now we can start plugging in these choices into the blank to see what makes sense. When it comes to grammar and punctuation, it's important to ask yourself how various components function within a sentence. While hearing how a sentence sounds is generally a good rule of thumb for a native English speaker, you can't always rely on that. Instead, knowing that the purpose of punctuation is to add clarity to a sentence, you might want to ask yourself why a certain punctuation mark might be needed within a sentence. Now let's locate the main clause in this sentence with the blank. To make this easier, I am going to add back the missing words to this sentence right here. And let's read this part. The country boasts an impressive annual coffee yield of approximately 6.85 million bags, solidifying its position as one of the leading coffee producing nations worldwide. Okay, so to identify the main clause, also known as an independent clause in a sentence, you can ask yourself a couple of questions. First, does this clause make sense on its own? And secondly, is there a subject and a verb? If you answer yes to both, then it's a main clause. So let's look at this first part of this sentence. The country boasts an impressive annual coffee yield of approximately 6.85 million bags. Does this clause make sense on its own? Yes, it does. Okay, is there a subject? Yes, that would be country. Okay, now is there a verb? Yes, that would be boasts. So we can say this first part is an independent clause. Now let's go ahead and look at the second part. Solidifying its position as one of the leading coffee producing nations worldwide. Does this make sense on its own? No, it doesn't. Now let's figure out why. Is there a subject? No, there isn't. It's not clear who's carrying out the action, who this is referring to. Now, is there a verb? There is, which is solidifying, but it's not quite clear if this is acting as a verb. So let's read this part again. Solidifying its position as one of the leading coffee producing nations worldwide. What is this part doing exactly? Well, we can see that this is providing additional information about country, Uganda. It's acting, in other words, as an adjective. So when we have a verbal phrase that is modifying or adding additional information, we refer to this as a participial phrase. Rather than function as a verb, it functions as an adjective. So in other words, it adds descriptive information about the noun it modifies. A participial phrase can never be an independent clause. So with that in mind, we can eliminate two of our answer choices. We can determine, for starters, that choice C is incorrect because of the semicolon. A semicolon can connect two independent clauses, but it cannot connect a main clause to a dependent clause or phrase. So that's out. Next, we can rule out choice D because the coordinating conjunction and cannot be used to connect a main clause to a participial phrase. The combination of a comma and the coordinating conjunction and would be used to connect two independent clauses. And as we've discussed, a participial phrase is not an independent clause. So choice D is out as well, which leaves us with choice A and choice B. Here's the million-dollar question. Should there be a comma separating the main clause from the participial phrase, or should there be no punctuation at all? And so the answer is, it depends. When a participial phrase is after the main clause, a comma is needed for separation only if it is modifying an earlier part of the sentence. On the flip side, no punctuation is needed if the participial phrase is directly modifying the word before it. Let me give you an example of what I mean. So let's say we're looking at the following sentence. During the school year, the students often observe the principal strolling through the hallways. In this sentence, there is no comma between principal and strolling. And that is because the verb strolling is directly modifying principal. Strolling is not modifying the students. Therefore, no comma is needed here. So in other words, because principal is immediately before the participial phrase, you don't need a comma, which takes us back to our sentence here. What is our participial phrase modifying? Is it modifying the word bags? No, it's not. That wouldn't make sense. This participial phrase, solidifying its position as one of the leading coffee-producing nations worldwide, is modifying the country, Uganda. Therefore, we know that choice A can be ruled out, leaving us finally with choice B as the correct answer. On a final note, I recommend becoming familiarized with participial phrases because you will certainly see more of them on the digital SAT. Thank you for watching. This example came from our free sample test available at testinnovators.com/SAT. For more helpful and relevant SAT content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time.